Hello, good morning everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the one of the famous short story from a Sri Lankan author Dr. Neil Fernandopulle named Afterglow. Afterglow was written by the famous Sri Lankan writer novelist Dr. Neil Fernandopulle. If you take a picture about the author, Neil Fernandopulle is a Sri Lankan who started his studies at Wesley College, Colombo. He is a biostream student and he entered the University of Colombo and completed his BSc with a special degree in botany. And he is involved in National Science Foundation funded project, and he is the one who introduced DNA fingerprinting technology in Sri Lanka, and he also received a postgraduate degree in this DNA process. And he got his exposed to English literature throughout an external degree from the University of Peradeniya using English as a major with sociology and Western classic as minor. And this is the introduction about the author.
Let's move on to the summary of the short story Afterglow by Dr. Neil Fernandopulle. Of course, to introduce the story, this is one of the stories in the book Shrapnel by Dr. Neil. So that is a collection of stories written by him, and this is one of the important stories by him. And this is a successful presentation of war in different perspectives. So we can see in this short story there is an injured soldier who is Nimal. So he has been wounded and in the war, and he has returned to the village now after being unable to fight anymore. So a landmine exploded and his leg was amputated, unfortunately. So the amputated leg is a greater symbol of heroism than the medals. In fact, everyone in his village, which is a typical one, give much respect and dignity for him because his fame spread for sacrificing his leg in defense of the country. So he is much highly respected and treated very greatly. But of course, inwardly he feels lonely and he feels unsuccessful because he could not lead a normal life. So he had three good friends, and they used to gather in a tank bund each and every evening. They used to gather, but later he had to lose them, and also he lost his girlfriend because of his amputated leg, and thereby he has been traumatized psychologically and societally. So this story brings about the very worst impacts of war in the ordinary normal life of ordinary people. As far as the setting, the typical rural village of Sri Lanka is depicted in the story.
If you take the characters which are surrounding the story Afterglow, first one, the major character is Soldier Nimal. Soldier Nimal is the antagonist of this short story, and he wounded in a war and he returned back to his village, and all the full story is surrounding around Nimal and his situations and his emotions. Then the second character is Chandini, who was the girlfriend of Nimal, who loved Nimal and refused now due to the situation of Nimal. Then the three friends of Nimal who were spent their evening times in the bund, and now refusing animals according their family situation, and it also conflict animal elite and Nimal's family. It means Nimal's mother and Nimal's sister and sister's husband and sister's children. And also one of the major character here, the Lokuhamaduru, who gives motivation and who supports Nimal emotionally and spiritually, and also a car driver and the tea boutique owner and the people in the village are the characters surrounding in the short story.
Themes of the short story Afterglow. The first and foremost one of it is worst impacts of war. Indeed, the story vividly portrays the devastating consequences of war, both on a personal and societal level. If we take Nimal, his physical injury, the loss of his leg in combat, serves as a reminder of the human cost of conflict. In addition, the narrative explores the emotional toll of war, depicting Nimal's struggles with loneliness, sadness, and a sense of purposelessness after returning home. Secondly, war results in unnatural life. Here we can see that Nimal has been affected with physical disabilities, psychological trauma, and shattered dreams. Indeed, Nimal's inability to lead a normal life after losing his leg highlights the unnaturalness of his circumstances. Thirdly, the theme of psychological impact of war is presented through the short story. The story delves into the psychological scars left by war, depicting Nimal's internal struggles with feelings of isolation, inadequacy, and loss. At last, we can say the theme of worst situations after war and loss of love is vividly portrayed. The narrative explores the challenges faced by individuals like Nimal in the aftermath of war, including societal stigma, practical barriers to reintegration, and loss of personal relationships. Chandini's decision to marry another man rather than staying with Nimal after his disability symbolizes the loss of love and shattered dreams that often accompany the return from war. As well, when we look into the major conflict in the story, we can say that the major conflict in Afterglow revolves around the aftermath of war and its impact on the protagonist, Nimal. The major conflict revolves around Nimal's struggle to reconcile his identity, purpose, and sense of self-worth in the wake of war and disability. The story explores the profound impact of war on individuals and society, highlighting the enduring challenges and complexities of life after combat. So, we can see the structure of the short story, that it starts with an introduction and it goes through flashbacks, and the story progresses. There is a rise in action and climax, and after that the resolution, and at last reflection and contemplation is also available there. So this is the short story Afterglow by Dr. Neil Fernandopulle, which is poignant and reflective, encapsulating the themes of loss, sacrifice, and the harsh realities of war. In the end, Nimal is left grappling with the profound emptiness and sense of purposelessness that pervade his life after returning from the war. All in all, the story effectively reinforces the themes of loss, isolation, and the struggle to find meaning in the aftermath of war, leaving readers with a poignant and thought provoking ending. Thank you so much.